A woman missing for nearly 4 months. A mysterious conversation with an unidentified person, and sickening claims by a boyfriend. What happened to Joanne Nield? Welcome to Vanished Voices UK, your new favourite spot for curious missing persons cases, true crime stories, and in-depth investigations. The death of Joanne Nield, an inconclusive investigation and sickening claims of murder. It was just after midnight on Tuesday the 14th of March 2023 when Joanne Nield was captured on CCTV speaking to the driver of a car on Edgar Street, Accrington. Minutes later, she continued on foot along Blackburn Road and then vanished without a trace. For nearly 4 months, Lancashire Police and Joanne's family held on to hope that she might be found safe. Then, sadly, on the 7th of July 2023, her body was found. Today's documentary will take you step by step through Joanne's life and final movements, the police investigation then and now, the theories that have emerged, and the unanswered questions that still haunt her loved ones. Join us as we seek to piece together the last sighting of Joanne Nield and ask what really happened on that March night in Accrington. Joanne Nield was 50 years old when she went missing in March 2023. A familiar figure on the streets of East Lancashire, she earned a modest income as a busker, often performing outside the Tesco on Blackburn Road, Accrington, and in nearby towns. Joanne stood at about 5'7" tall, of slim build, with shoulder-length brown hair usually tied back in a ponytail. She was known to favour a black leather jacket over her everyday clothes, details that Lancashire Police later highlighted in their missing person appeal. Although Joanne busked in Accrington, she had close links to several nearby towns, including Darwin, Blackburn, Clitheroe and Burnley, and would move between them depending on where she could find an audience. Joanne lived in Darwin and received regular visits from a support worker. When that worker was unable to make contact or find Joanne on the 11th of April 2023, they reported her missing to Lancashire Police, triggering the official search that would last until her body was recovered months later. Though she was independent enough to travel and perform on her own, Joanne relied on her support network for check-ins and appointments, making her sudden disappearance all the more alarming to those who knew her. The critical window begins in the early hours of Tuesday the 14th of March 2023. At 12:10 AM, CCTV captures Joanne speaking through the passenger window to the driver of an unknown car on Edgar Street, Accrington, a conversation Lancashire Police later deemed as vital to their inquiries. Minutes later, at around 12:15 AM, the footage shows her walking northbound along Blackburn Road, heading towards the town centre. This marks the last confirmed sighting of Joanne. No further CCTV or eyewitness reports have been verified after 12:15 AM. Lancashire Police appealed repeatedly for anyone who saw Joanne between 12:15 and dawn to come forward, but yielded no new confirmed sightings. More than 3 weeks passed before anyone raised the alarm. On the 11th of April 2023, Joanne's support worker, accustomed to regular check-ins, found herself unable to locate or contact Joanne. Concerned for her welfare, the worker formally reported her missing to Lancashire Police. For the next 3 months, searches and appeals, including the release of CCTV clips in November, proved fruitless. In the weeks and months that followed, Joanne's loved ones spoke directly to the media, appealing for information and expressing deep concern. They consistently stressed that Joanne was cautious by nature and would never have chosen to vanish without telling anyone. Beyond her immediate family, friends described Joanne as a creature of habit, always punctual for appointments with her support worker, always tending her guitar, and always making her way home before nightfall. Their view was that if something had gone wrong, she would have called for help. These first-hand accounts of a woman who valued routine, who maintained close links with her support network, and who would never simply go off the grid, underpinned her family's public appeals and the urgency with which detectives continued their search. Once Joanne's support worker reported her missing, Lancashire Police launched a full missing person inquiry, assigning a dedicated team of officers to trace her movements and locate any witnesses. Officers rapidly reviewed all available CCTV in Accrington and surrounding towns. They identified Joanne's last confirmed movements, 10 past 12 AM on Edgar Street and 12:15 AM on Blackburn Road, and prepared to release those clips to the public in the hopes of tracing the driver she spoke with and any other witnesses. In May 2023, as Joanne had still not been found, police issued a second appeal reminding the public that she could be anywhere in the country given her links to Darwin, Blackburn, Clitheroe, Accrington and Burnley. Appeals ran across social media, print and local radio, urging anyone who saw Joanne after 12:15 AM on the 14th of March or who recognised her in the footage to contact police. Throughout the spring and summer of 2023, officers carried out countless door-to-door inquiries, trawled through phone-downloaded data and reviewed taxi and rideshare logs. Despite these efforts, no new confirmed sighting or lead emerged until on the 7th of July when a local angler discovered human remains in the River Hyndburn at Rishton, roughly 2.5 miles from Joanne's last known location. In the early hours of Friday the 7th of July 2023, Lancashire Police received a report of human remains in the River Hyndburn. Officers attended and recovered a body from the water, later confirming it was that of 50-year-old Joanne Nield. Investigators noted the state of significant decomposition, indicating Joanne had been in the water for an extended period. There were no immediately obvious signs of injury or trauma visible to the attending officers. A Lancashire Police spokesman said, "We are still investigating the circumstances which led to Joanne's death. Our inquiries remain ongoing and we continue to keep an open mind. If anyone saw Joanne after midnight on the 14th of March 2023 or witnessed anything unusual around the Hyndburn Brook, please come forward." A full post-mortem examination followed the discovery of her body, but the advanced state of decomposition prevented pathologists from establishing a definitive cause of death. The presence of drugs was confirmed in toxicology, though experts could not determine whether these contributed to Joanne entering the water. All other forensic avenues were exhausted. No clear injuries or signs of third-party involvement were found. The coroner stated, "It was apparent that Joanne had been in the water for a very long time when found, and she likely died on or around the 14th of March 2023. Post-mortem examination was unable to establish a cause of death, however, Miss Nield had drugs in her system." The coroner also stated that although Joanne was a known drug user and had previously been a sex worker, she did really well in trying to overcome her difficulties. Joanne never missed any of her appointments with the substance misuse organisation Spark, and she was always polite and quiet, and described as a loner who had very few friends. With the inquest formally recorded as death unascertained, the coroner underscored the limits imposed by decomposition. "We may never know why or how Joanne entered the Hyndburn Brook." Lancs Live reported that at the inquest, Senior Investigating Officer Detective Superintendent Alan Davies said, "A female approached an officer to inform them that she had an interaction with Joanne's boyfriend, who disclosed that Joanne had struck him with a metal bar and he had stabbed her and strangled her and disposed of her body in the canal." In the next section, we'll review the main theories considered by police and the public, and examine which scenarios remain plausible given the facts. Throughout the inquiry into Joanne's disappearance and death, 3 primary scenarios have been publicly discussed: accidental drowning, foul play, and self-harm. Lancashire Police have maintained an open mind on all possibilities. The first theory looks at accidental drowning. Joanne was last seen alone walking towards Hindberg Brook, which has no barriers in place, and the post-mortem found no signs of trauma. Investigators consider it possible that she slipped or lost her footing and fell into the water. No external injuries were noted at recovery, aside from decomposition changes. The coroner recorded a cause of death as unascertained due to decomposition, but did not rule out an accident. The second theory suggests that there may have been foul play involved. Joanne's family and some members of the public believed that she could not have ended up in the river without someone else's involvement. The family remained convinced that she was murdered according to recent appeals. While no suspects seem to have been publicly named, a recent Yahoo report discusses a claim made by someone known to Joanne. According to Yahoo, police arrested a suspect in connection with her disappearance. The arrest follows a shocking claim made via text message. It's been reported that the latest suspect allegedly boasted in a text message that they had harmed Joanne, but it seems like this may have been a hoax due to certain timings not matching up. Despite the arrest, the individual has firmly denied any involvement. Authorities are treating the message as a lead, but have yet to uncover further evidence. It appears that this suspect was released without charge. Whether he is still a suspect or not remains to be seen. From the reports, it seems as though the text message and the claim by the boyfriend are 2 separate claims. However, it is quite unclear at this time. Investigators continue to piece together her final known movements and connect them to the suspects. No firm details have yet emerged regarding how many suspects police now consider actively involved, although again, Lanc's Live suggests that a pool of around 35 suspects have been investigated in connection with her possible murder. The location of Joanne's remains is about 2.5 miles from her last known location. According to Google Maps, this would be about a 50-minute walk or a 10-minute drive. In the footage, it looks like Joanne is pointing to the car to pull up somewhere or maybe giving directions. If Joanne is believed to have accidentally fallen in the river, what was she doing in Rishton? If she went to Rishton and ended her own life, why would she go all that way to do it? In some cases, where a person is found in water, investigators consider whether it was intentional. However, there is no indication in witness statements, family accounts, or Joanne's history to suggest suicidal intent. Drugs were found in her system, but there was no evidence that they were taken deliberately to harm herself. At this stage, Lancashire Police continue to investigate all 3 scenarios. No theory has been eliminated, and no one has been charged. The only certainty is that Joanne entered the water sometime after her last sighting on the 14th of March. How and why remains unanswered. Public appeals remain live. In November 2023, police renewed their request for anyone who saw Joanne after midnight on the 14th, especially the driver she spoke to on Edgar Street, to come forward. That appeal was broadcast across local radio, newspapers and social media. Investigators have also revisited the Hindberg Brook, using fresh sonar and underwater cameras to confirm that there is no further evidence in the waterway itself. All digital evidence, including Joanne's last known mobile phone pings near Edgar Street, have been reanalysed with updated mapping technology. Despite months of intensive investigation, key questions remain about Joanne's disappearance and death. These gaps in our knowledge continue to drive the police inquiry and offer hope that new information could still emerge. Who was the driver on Edgar Street? Joanne spoke with an unidentified motorist at 12:10 AM on the 14th of March. That individual could clarify why she approached the car and what happened immediately thereafter. Did that person pick Joanne up further down the road, possibly in a blind spot? The car looks to me like a late 2010s Nissan Qashqai. Considering the distance from Joanne's last sighting and location of her body, It would suggest that she got into a car. While the walk is doable, it seems unlikely considering the cold weather and distance. What occurred between 12:15 AM and Joanne's entry into the water? CCTV captures her on Blackburn Road at 12:15 AM, but there are no confirmed sightings or recordings after that point. Could overlooked CCTV or dashcam footage exist? Lancashire Police have reviewed known cameras, but may benefit from private dashcam or doorbell videos covering side streets and alleyways. What role, if any, did the drugs in her system play? Toxicology confirmed drugs present, but decomposition prevented assessment of whether they contributed to accidental drowning or other circumstances. Is there undiscovered forensic evidence along the brook? Sonar and underwater cameras found no further remains or objects, yet shifting sediments could conceal clues. Were there witnesses who dismissed their sightings? Police believe someone in the town centre between midnight and dawn may recall something now deemed insignificant, yet vital to the timeline. Finally, and one of the most important questions, was Joanne murdered? Her family and those who knew her suggest that she would not have committed suicide. Her boyfriend had allegedly claimed to have stabbed and strangled her after she hit him with a metal bar, but no stab wounds or clear signs of strangulation were reported by the coroner. Could the decomposed state of her body have hidden these signs? It is unclear if the text message is a separate claim, but if so, could one of these claims be true, or are these people just playing very sick jokes? These unanswered questions underline the case's complexity and why Lancashire Police continue to appeal for fresh information. Even the smallest detail, the faintest memory, or a piece of overlooked footage could finally bring clarity to Joanne's final movements. Joanne Nield was last seen on Blackburn Road, Accrington at 12:15 AM on the 14th of March 2023, before disappearing from view minutes later. Her remains were tragically recovered from the River Hindburn at Rishton on the 7th of July 2023, and a coroner's inquest in June 2025 returned a verdict of death unascertained, owing to advanced decomposition. Despite exhaustive CCTV reviews, mobile phone analysis, door-to-door inquiries, and underwater searches, critical gaps remain. Who spoke with Joanne that night? What happened between her last sighting and entry into the brook? And whether any overlooked footage or recollections can finally fill in the blanks. As far as I can tell, the occupant of the car has not been located or spoken to. It could just be that this information hasn't been made public, but if they haven't tracked them down, it seems like a very important lead that could hold some very valuable clues. Lancashire Police continue to treat Joanne's case as a live investigation. They urge anyone with even the smallest detail, such as an overheard comment, a dashcam clip, or a memory from that early morning, to contact them immediately, quoting log 569 of the 11th of April 2023. Thank you for watching. If you have any information, no matter how small it may seem, please reach out. Together we can bring light to what happened that night and honour Joanne's memory by seeking the truth. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, every missing person deserves to be found. Like, comment and subscribe to see more new and cold missing persons cases from the UK.